Racist Karen called 911 to evict a black family. Unknown to her, they own the entire area. "Get off my property. You have no right to be here." The shrill voice of an enraged woman pierces the tranquil afternoon air in an affluent Atlanta suburb. A black family stands on their own front lawn, bewildered and increasingly frustrated. "Ma'am, this is our home. We live here," a man responds calmly, his patience wearing thin. "Liar. I know everyone in this neighborhood, and you don't belong. I'm calling 911 right now." The woman, her face contorted with anger, fumbles for her phone. The black family exchanges worried glances, their day of unpacking boxes and settling into their new home suddenly interrupted by this unexpected confrontation. Little did anyone know, this heated exchange would soon ignite a firestorm of controversy, exposing deep-rooted prejudices and challenging long-held assumptions about race, belonging, and ownership in America. Welcome to Harvey Hill, a picturesque community in suburban Atlanta, where manicured lawns and stately homes paint a picture of idyllic Southern living. But beneath this polished veneer, tensions are rising, threatening to shatter the neighborhood's carefully cultivated image. This is the story of the Jenkins families, DeMichael, Imani, and their children, whose dream of a new beginning in an upscale community quickly transforms into a nightmare of racial profiling and false accusations. It's a tale that will force us to confront uncomfortable truths about the persistence of racism in even the most unexpected places. As we unravel the events of that fateful day, we'll witness how a simple misunderstanding escalates into a viral incident, sparking national outrage and debate. We'll explore the complex dynamics at play in this affluent community and the surprising revelations that emerge as the truth comes to light. Prepare yourselves for a journey that will challenge your perceptions, stir your emotions, and ultimately, we hope, inspire you to reflect on the ongoing struggle for equality and justice in America. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from in the comment section, and if you are a lover of justice and inspirational stories, don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribe button for more of these gripping stories. DeMichael Jenkins, a successful black real estate developer with over a decade of experience, stands proudly in front of his newly acquired home in Harvey Hill, an upscale Atlanta suburb. His wife, Imani, joins him, their eyes gleaming with hope for a fresh start in this affluent community. Little do they know that their dream is about to collide with a harsh reality. Harvey Hill, named after Confederate General Daniel Harvey Hill, boasts manicured lawns and stately homes that whisper of old money and tradition. The community's history is deeply rooted in the South's complex past, a fact that will soon prove significant for the Jenkins family. As DeMichael and Imani begin unpacking, their new neighbor, Karen Drexler, watches from her window. Karen, the president of the Harvey Hill Homeowners Association, grips her coffee mug tightly, her knuckles whitening as she observes the black family settling in next door. The following day, Karen makes her move. She marches across her lawn, a forced smile plastered on her face as she introduces herself to DeMichael. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she says, her voice dripping with false sweetness. But when DeMichael extends his hand for a shake, Karen recoils, muttering something about not having cash on her. The interaction leaves DeMichael puzzled and slightly unsettled. As days pass, the Jenkins family tries to settle into their new routine. DeMichael, known for his innovative home designs and meticulous attention to detail, begins sketching plans for minor renovations to their home. Imani, ever supportive, suggests hosting a housewarming party to meet their new neighbors. Meanwhile, Karen's behavior grows increasingly erratic. She installs a security camera pointed directly at the Jenkins home, claiming it's for neighborhood safety. DeMichael and Imani exchange worried glances but decide to give Karen the benefit of the doubt. One evening, as the sun sets over Harvey Hill, a disturbing incident occurs. Kyle, Karen's 17-year-old son, is caught peering through the Jenkins open window, his eyes wide as he watches the couple in an intimate moment. When confronted, Kyle stammers an apology and flees, leaving the Jenkins feeling violated and exposed in their own home. Imani, deeply shaken by the incident, confides in her elderly aunt, Mama Rose, who lives nearby. Mama Rose listens intently, her weathered face creasing with concern. Child, she says, her voice low and serious, this ain't just about nosy neighbors. There's something darker at play here. As the days progress, Imani notices subtle changes in the neighborhood's dynamics. Friendly waves from other residents become scarce. Invitations to community events mysteriously stop arriving. The once welcoming atmosphere turns cold and hostile. DeMichael, ever the optimist, tries to reassure Imani. We've faced challenges before, he says, recalling his journey from a troubled youth to a successful businessman. We'll overcome this too. But even as he speaks, doubt flickers in his eyes. Unbeknownst to the Jenkins family, Karen Drexler is orchestrating a campaign against them behind the scenes. In her home, hidden from view, she maintains a shrine of neo-Confederate memorabilia, a testament to her deeply held racist beliefs. She makes late-night phone calls to her brother, Mike Wind, an Atlanta police officer who shares her prejudices. As tensions simmer beneath the surface of Harvey Hill's picturesque facade, one question looms large: how will the Jenkins family navigate this increasingly hostile environment? And what dark secrets might Karen be hiding behind her perfectly manicured lawn and forced smiles? The stage is set for a confrontation that will shake the foundations of Harvey Hill and force its residents to confront the ugly truths lurking beneath their polished veneer. As the sun sets on another day in this seemingly idyllic suburb, storm clouds gather on the horizon, promising a tempest that will leave no one untouched. With Karen's true nature slowly revealing itself and the community turning against them, how will DeMichael and Imani protect themselves and their dream of a new life in Harvey Hill? And what unexpected allies might they find in this hostile territory? The sun is setting over Harvey Hill as DeMichael Jenkins turns his sleek black SUV onto his street. It's been a long day at the office, and he's looking forward to a quiet evening with Imani. As he approaches his driveway, he notices a figure standing near his front door. It's Karen Drexler, and she's pushing a stroller. DeMichael pulls into his driveway, curiosity and apprehension mingling in his mind. Before he can even turn off the engine, Karen abandons the stroller and rushes towards his car, her face a mask of panic and anger. "What are you doing here?" Karen shrieks, her voice piercing the evening calm. "This isn't your house." Bewildered, DeMichael steps out of his car, hands raised in a placating gesture. "Karen, you know I live here. We've been neighbors for weeks now." But Karen is beyond reason. She backs away, her eyes wild with fear, or is it something else? "Stay away from me." "Help! Someone help me!" DeMichael stands frozen, unable to comprehend the situation unfolding before him. He watches in disbelief as Karen grabs her children from the stroller and begins running down the street, screaming at the top of her lungs. "He's chasing me! Someone call the police!" Neighbors begin to emerge from their homes, drawn by the commotion. DeMichael sees confusion and suspicion on their faces as they look from Karen's retreating figure to him. Inside the house, Imani hears the commotion and rushes out. She takes in the scene: her husband standing in the driveway, looking shell-shocked, and Karen running down the street with her children. "DeMichael, what's happening?" Imani asks, her voice trembling. Before he can answer, the wail of police sirens fills the air. 2 patrol cars screech to a halt in front of their house. 4 officers leap out, weapons drawn. "Hands where we can see them," one officer shouts. DeMichael and Imani comply, their hearts racing. As one officer approaches to handcuff DeMichael, Imani finds her voice. "This is our home," she cries out. "We live here. Please, check our ID." The officers exchange glances, clearly unsure of how to proceed. Just then, Karen returns, breathless and triumphant. "That's him, officers," she points at DeMichael. "He tried to break into my house." The situation teeters on the brink of disaster. DeMichael, still handcuffed, tries to remain calm. "Officers, please. There's been a misunderstanding. I'm DeMichael Jenkins. This is my home. I'm a real estate developer. I can prove it." One of the younger officers, his name tag reading Officer Johnson, steps forward. Ma'am, he addresses Karen, are you certain this man doesn't live here? Karen's confidence wavers for a moment. Well, he can't live here. I know everyone in this neighborhood. Officer Johnson turns to his partner. Let's verify their IDs. Something's not adding up here. As the officers begin their investigation, neighbors gather on the sidewalk, whispering among themselves. Some cast sympathetic glances towards the Jenkins, while others eye them with suspicion. Mama Rose, Imani's aunt, pushes through the crowd. What's all this nonsense? She demands, her voice carrying the weight of years and wisdom. These good people are my family. They bought this house fair and square. Karen, seeing her narrative crumbling, changes tactics. Well, even if they do live here, they must have done something wrong. Why else would the police be here? Officer Johnson, having verified the Jenkins' identity, removes DeMichael's handcuffs. Sir, ma'am, I apologize for the misunderstanding. You're free to go about your business. He turns to Karen, his expression stern. Ma'am, making false reports is a serious offense. We'll need to have a conversation about this. As the tension begins to dissipate, a car pulls up. Out steps Mike Wind, Karen's brother and fellow police officer. He surveys the scene, his face darkening as he spots the Jenkins family. What seems to be the problem here? He asks, his hand resting casually on his holstered weapon. Officer Johnson briefs him on the situation. Mike's jaw tightens as he listens, his eyes never leaving DeMichael and Imani. I'll take it from here, Mike says, dismissing the other officers. Once they're gone, he turns to the Jenkins family. Listen here, he says, his voice low and menacing. I don't know how you managed to buy a house in this neighborhood, but know this, we're watching you. One wrong move, and you'll regret ever setting foot in Harvey Hill. With that, he escorts Karen back to her house, leaving the Jenkins family standing in their driveway, surrounded by curious and judgmental neighbors. As the crowd slowly disperses, DeMichael and Imani retreat into their home, shaken by the evening's events. They sit in silence for a long moment, the weight of what just happened settling over them. What are we going to do? Imani finally asks, her voice barely above a whisper. DeMichael takes her hand, his resolve strengthening. We're not going anywhere, he says firmly. This is our home, and we have every right to be here. We'll fight this, Imani. We'll show them that we belong. As night falls over Harvey Hill, the Jenkins family begins to plan their next move. They know that Karen's false accusations are just the beginning. With a police officer seemingly in her corner, the stakes have never been higher. How will the Jenkins family protect themselves against future false accusations? And with tensions in the neighborhood at an all-time high, will they find any allies in their fight for justice and acceptance? In the days following the confrontation, the incident at Harvey Hill exploded across social media platforms. Amateur sleuths worked tirelessly to identify the woman now infamously known as Karen. Within 48 hours, her identity is revealed, Michelle Bishop, a 42-year-old real estate agent and longtime Harvey Hill resident. As the video of the incident goes viral, it sparks a nationwide conversation about racial profiling and the abuse of emergency services. News outlets pick up the story, and soon, Harvey Hill finds itself at the center of a media firestorm. The Jenkins family, still reeling from the ordeal, decides to take action. With the support of local civil rights attorneys, they file a police report against Michelle Bishop for making a false 911 call and harassment. They also consider pursuing a civil lawsuit for emotional distress and violation of their civil rights. Meanwhile, the Harvey Hill Homeowners Association calls an emergency meeting to address the incident. The community is divided, with some residents rallying behind the Jenkins family while others defend Michelle Bishop, claiming she was simply looking out for the neighborhood's safety. As the dust begins to settle, several key themes emerge from this incident. The confrontation between Michelle Bishop and the Jenkins family highlights the persistent issue of racial profiling in America. Dr. Jamal Thompson, a sociologist specializing in race relations, explains, This incident is a textbook example of how implicit bias can lead to dangerous and potentially life-threatening situations for people of color. Research has shown that unconscious biases can affect clinical decisions when providers experience increased cognitive stress. While this study focused on healthcare providers, the principle applies to various situations, including neighborhood interactions. The incident also brings attention to the misuse of emergency services as a tool for racial intimidation. Legal expert Sarah Chin comments, calling 911 under false pretenses is not only illegal but also diverts crucial resources from genuine emergencies. It's a form of weaponizing emergency services against minorities. The fallout from the incident has far-reaching consequences for Harvey Hill. Community leader Marcus Johnson observes, this has exposed deep-seated tensions that have been simmering beneath the surface for years. It's forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about race and belonging in our neighborhood. The psychological impact on the Jenkins family and other residents of color in Harvey Hill cannot be understated. Dr. Lisa Patel, a clinical psychologist, notes, events like these can cause significant trauma, leading to anxiety, depression, and a persistent feeling of being unwelcome in one's own home. Research has shown that violence from racial profiling and discrimination directly causes depression in Black American boys and men, which in turn is a significant public health issue. As the community grapples with these issues, several initiatives are proposed to address the underlying problems. 1. Implicit bias training. The Harvey Hill Homeowners Association announces mandatory implicit bias training for all residents. However, recent empirical assessments of implicit bias training have shown, at best, no effect on racial disparities in officers' actions in the field. This raises questions about the effectiveness of such training for civilians. 2. Community dialogue sessions. A series of facilitated discussions are planned to allow residents to share their experiences and perspectives on race relations in Harvey Hill. 3. Review of HOA policies. The association commits to reviewing its policies and procedures to ensure they are equitable and do not inadvertently promote discriminatory practices. 4. Increased diversity in leadership. Calls grow for more diverse representation on the Harvey Hill Homeowners Association Board. 5. Partnership with local civil rights organizations. The community reaches out to local civil rights groups to provide ongoing education and support. As these initiatives take shape, the Jenkins family finds themselves at a crossroads. DeMichael reflects, we moved here for a better life, but now we're thrust into this role of being catalysts for change. It's not a responsibility we asked for, but it's one we're willing to take on. Imani adds, this isn't just about us anymore. It's about every family of color who's ever felt unwelcome in their own neighborhood. We have to stand up and say, enough is enough. The outcome of the police report and potential civil lawsuit remains uncertain. Legal experts speculate that the case could set an important precedent for how similar incidents are handled in the future. As Harvey Hill begins its long journey towards healing and reconciliation, the broader implications of this incident reverberate across the nation. It serves as a stark reminder of the work that still needs to be done to combat racial profiling and create truly inclusive communities. In light of the mixed results of implicit bias training and the deep-rooted nature of these issues, what more effective strategies could Harvey Hill and similar communities implement to create lasting change and foster genuine inclusivity? As we conclude our exploration of the Harvey Hill incident, it's crucial to recognize that this story is not unique. Across America, similar scenarios unfold daily, often without the spotlight of national attention. The Jenkins family's experience serves as a powerful reminder of the work that lies ahead in creating truly inclusive communities. To our viewers, we implore you to take this moment as an opportunity for self-reflection and action. 1. Examine your own biases. We all have unconscious biases. Take the time to honestly assess your own preconceptions and how they might affect your interactions with others. 2. Educate yourself. Seek out resources on racial equity, systemic racism, and the experiences of marginalized communities. Knowledge is a powerful tool in combating prejudice. 3. Speak up. When you witness discrimination or racial profiling, don't remain silent. Use your voice to support those who are being targeted. 4. Foster inclusive spaces. In your workplace, school, or community organizations, advocate for policies and practices that promote diversity and inclusion. 5. Support organizations. Consider donating to or volunteering with organizations working towards racial justice and community building. The path to a more equitable society is not an easy one, but it's a journey we must undertake together. Open communication, empathy, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths are essential in combating racial prejudice. Remember the words of DeMichael Jenkins, "Change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen." Every conversation, every act of kindness, every stand against injustice moves us forward. As we reflect on the events in Harvey Hill, let's commit to being part of the solution. Let's work towards a future where no family feels unwelcome in their own home, where diversity is celebrated rather than feared, and where the color of one's skin doesn't determine their sense of belonging. The story of Harvey Hill is still being written, as is the larger narrative of race relations in America. Each of us has the power to shape these stories through our actions and choices. As you leave this documentary, ask yourself, what role will you play in creating a more just and inclusive world? In the words of civil rights leader John Lewis, when you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something, you have to do something. Let this be our guiding principle as we move forward, turning the painful lessons of Harvey Hill into a catalyst for positive change. The journey towards true equality and inclusion is long, but with each step, each conversation, and each act of understanding, we move closer to a world where incidents like the one in Harvey Hill become relics of the past rather than headlines of the present. As we fade to black, let the echoes of this story resonate in your hearts and minds. The power to change our communities, our nation, and our world lies within each of us. The question is, are we brave enough to use it? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more of this gripping story.